Gambit is not really regular. They can have bad games, like once a month they just play bad one game and give away a victory. And in every other game they're pretty solid. They could do better, but they will try really hard for playoffs, more than the regular splits.
Welcome back to week 10 of the European LCS. I'm Joe Mo and I'm joined here by my very own two-backer, Trevor Quickshot Henry. Slightly weird. It's time for our second game of the day as the Super Hot Crew take on Gambit. These are two teams fighting at opposite ends of the table. Gambit holds a 2-1 lead over Super Hot Crew coming in, and any wins that Gambit pick up from this point puts more distance between them and the other top teams. On the other hand, for the Super Hot Crew, every single win from this point is another chance for them to avoid possible relegation as they fight to get towards the 6th place and the playoffs. Super Hot Crew are going to need to perform better after yesterday's game against Fnatic, though, where they simply had no impact and were completely unable to find picks with a pick composition.
Yeah, I think the Super Hot Crew just got out-rotated yesterday. They had absolutely no impact trying to kill Fnatic, and because they were unable to do so, they lost all of their towers while only taking down one. It seemed that Fnatic were able to completely play around the Super Hot Crew. And if the team doesn't find some more diversity in their gameplay, the Super Hot Crew may lose another game here today because they need to change something up against Gambit.
Well, yesterday Gambit played SK Gaming, and as we mentioned earlier, there was a bug that caused a significant increase in Aatrox's abilities in the early game. So we are going to void the game, the result of that game of yesterday's match, and replay it at the end of today's LCS matches. And even though the game will be replayed, I think we can still talk about how Gambit dealt with Fiddlesticks in the jungle and the Vel'Koz support from Enlightened. Regardless of the outcome, you have to commend Gambit for controlling the tempo of the game and working around those slightly new and different picks.
Yeah, I really think that Gambit never gave Svenskeren a chance to survive long enough. He was playing Fiddlesticks and he just didn't have impactful Crow Storms. The dual lane of Jinx and Vel'Koz, they didn't really get off to a strong early start, but I actually felt that once they hit level 7 and level 8, they started to do much better against Genja and Edward. In general, jungle Zinzao from Diamond was solid, and the general play of Gambit looked very, very good. I'm expecting them to have a similar level of play against the Super Hot Crew. Something you have to remember is in the post-game interview yesterday, Diamond also said, we anticipated SK's picks. We knew they were going to do. We were totally prepared. And I want to see if they are as prepared for this game against the Super Hot Crew.
Well, let's quickly talk about both teams' mid laners and their abilities on LeBlanc. We know that SELFIE loves to play LeBlanc from solo queue and in the LCS, of course. And Aleksei, he always performs well on Assassins. What's your take on these two today?
So in general, LeBlanc has been a champion that's been played by many mid laners in Europe, but I actually feel like very few of those performances stand out as impressive. You know, they're not mind-blowing. In my mind, that SELFIE has had an okay game. Yesterday he played an average game. He made no impact, I'm afraid. He went 4, 6, and 9. If you look at how SELFIE plays, Alex is going to have to try find a way to disrupt Alex in this particular game. Now, Alex on LeBlanc, he's also been hit or miss, with some games being great, others where he's been completely unable to blow people up. And I want to see, during picks and bans, if we are also going to see a first ban LeBlanc, because both of these players want to get their hands on this champion coming into the match.
Well, before we get into those picks and bans, let's check out the two starting lineups. On the blue side, it's the Super Hot Crew, with Mimer in the top lane, Impaler in the jungle, SELFIE in the mid lane, MrRalleZ the AD carry, and Migxa the support.
And on the red side, it is Gambit Gaming, with Darien up top, Diamond in the jungle, Alex in the mid lane, Genja on AD carry, and Edward playing the support carry role.
So we'll see about that one today, if he can do that again. We are getting close to champion select here, so let's talk a little bit about that one. We've already talked about the mid laners. We know that Assassins for Aleksei and for SELFIE are what they really enjoy to play, but where else are we expecting the bans and the picks to be focused?
So sticking with the mid lane very quickly, I think Ryze is going to be a consideration. SELFIE has already played it. Alex has already played it. We know Alex has a massive love for Ryze. He's been playing for many, many years. If you look at the junglers, Kha'Zix and Evelynn, I think are going to be priorities for both of these players. Impaler has really been trying to get his hands on Kha'Zix more often than not.
Yeah.
I have to be honest, I don't think he's been as impactful. I think when you look at Impaler on champions like Wukong and Pantheon, I feel like he was getting his solo lanes and his side lanes an advantage earlier than what he's doing with Kha'Zix at the moment. So we'll have to see if he can find a way to make a dent.
One thing that scares me, and probably scares everyone that plays against Gambit, is the fact that they can just bring so many different picks into the jungle. We've seen it time and time again. Yesterday was a prime example. Zhao in that nullified game against SK Gaming, 9-1-10 he ended with that one. Did absolutely brilliant with it. You can ban out the likes of Elise, if even Elise comes towards that, because we have seen that Elise has snuck through quite a few ban and pick phases so far after we've moved on to the 4.4 patch. Either way, first bans are coming out. Thresh Prince is not going to get his Thresh.
Yeah, I'm very happy to see that pick. Seeing how Edward played last week against Millennium and seeing how he performed yesterday on Thresh was absolutely phenomenal. He landed so many good death sentences. He maybe made 1 or 2 poor decisions to go in. It costed him his life, but in general, he's doing very well on that champion. So smart move by Super Hard Crew, force him onto something different.
And there's the other bans coming out. LeBlanc gone. We predicted that earlier on. Evelyn as well will be taken away from Diamond. And it's one thing having Diamond running around the map and killing you on a champion that you can see. It's another one having an invisible champion with Diamond running through the jungle. Other side, Lulu taken away, this time actually by Gambit. We know that Aleksei likes to play that one. We're assuming that SELFIE is going to be hot on that one as well.
Yeah, you can't be playing in the top tiers of solo queue without having at least some experience on Lulu at this point. It's also a champion that we have seen in multiple roles. Super Hot Crew have played and used double AP compositions effectively in the past, so it's quite a smart ban from Gambit. It does, however, mean that Ryze is still up and available. As you've talked about, Elise is there, but I think with so many jungle bans, Pantheon or Wukong have to be considerations here for Super Hard Crew, considering the experience that they have on those champions.
And if we remember back to the time where Impaler was really trying to find his feet. It was after, 6 games where they'd only won 1 against Alliance in the first week, and then we saw 2 Pantheon picks coming out of him to secure them 2 wins against SK and the Copenhagen Wolves. But they're ignoring jungle picks for now. They've gone straight in there for the support. Karma first pick here for the Super Hard Crew.
So it's one of those champions that is rising to popularity right now because of all of the utility that she offers, with basically a built-in Talisman of Ascension, good shielding, incredibly good poke during the laning phase. It's a champion that fits into a lot of compositions. What we actually seen from the KT rolls to Bullets at IEM 2 weeks ago, if they didn't get Sivir, they ran Karma. If they would always have one or the other. They valued so much movement speed and mobility for their team, and I think that's a smart pick. Migxa also gets caught and dies fairly often, so the shields and the movement might play into his favor to avoid some of those deaths.
On the other side here, Gambit currently hovering over Lucian and Renekton, and Renekton a safe pick up in the top lane for Darien, and that's exactly where it's going to be going. On the other side, we do have the Lucian, as I said, for Genja going to be selected in here. And if you look down MrRalleZ's most played champions, Lucian is right up there.
Yeah, Lucian's really up there with every single one of these top tier AD carries. Genja is more comfortable on Lucian, I feel, than many of the other champions. Maybe Jinx would be the only real next contested pick. Gambit playing safe. They've got the Wizard in the top lane playing on Renekton. He's got a comfortable champion, something that he's been phenomenal with over the course of the split, and Gambit haven't revealed anything. They've got strong lanes already, and we'll see what Super Hot Crew build. Remember when we seen yesterday the Ryze Trundle combo from Roccat? It took a long time to scale up, and if Super Hot Crew are going to lock in this Ryze now, I'd like to see an aggressive early game jungler, maybe an Elise even, or even that Pantheon, to try and help those solo lanes out, get them to power earlier.
We should never forget that Ryze could end up in the top lane as well. You mentioned that they've played double AP. We can safely say once, Lissandra against Alliance. They also played a Zac in that top lane, which actually didn't go well for them at all. 0-5-0. Mimer played the Zac. They will lock in the Ryze and also Pantheon. Talked about it earlier on. A champion which Impaler did very well on at the start of it. He had also a couple of ropey Pantheon games. We'll see which Pantheon he brings to the table today.
It's very interesting to see this particular matchup as far as the junglers are concerned. Yesterday, Diamond actually did run that Zhao, but he was not the first one to do it this year. It was in fact Impaler that did it much earlier on in the split. When Impaler was having Vi target banned against him, he defaulted to Zhao. It wasn't very pretty. I believe he's had 1 or 2 games with 8 or 9 deaths, all the way up there. And he moved from that champion to Pantheon. What I like about the option right now is there are so many people talking about how Ryze is a counter to Renekton in lane. I know Deficio and I have been talking about it. I haven't been able to pull that counter of myself in-game as I've been smashed by Renektons, but the theory is there. Rune Prison, Overload's ranged poke. If they want to give that to Mimer, it means they would have to pick an AP mid now for SELFIE, and we'll see what they decide.
So it will be Zhao and Sona locked in here. You rightly pointed out that Impaler played that Zhao, in fact, against Gambit the first time that they met this season, and you were right with the 8 deaths as well. 1-8-10 is where he finished that. On this time around, though, Diamond, who had almost the opposite score onto it yesterday, 9-1-10. We'll see how he does today. And Sona brought out here for Gambit, a champion which they always used to fall back to.
It's very interesting to see more Sonas being picked up and played. She fell out of popularity at the beginning of the year in favor of those engage heavy supports like Leona and Annie. Now, because Leona and Annie are not being played as significantly, you can get away with playing Sona because Karma's not necessarily going to blow you up. Karma's not a kill threat on you in lane. So the Sona Lucian is going to be fairly safe against whoever they play against. It's a matchup that we've actually seen winning more often than not in these last 2 weeks, thanks to the built-in sustain. The one thing I do want to count on or mention is, with the champions Super Hard Crew have built, Kayle, Ryze, Pantheon, Karma, they're fairly short range. They want to be getting in your face, and as long as Diamond has got some good crescent sweeps through that Zhao ultimate, it's going to knock the entire Super Hot Crew away. So there's a lot of pressure on Diamond to make sure he protects his team when Super Hot Crew comes running in.
And I think we can safely say that Caitlyn, in that mix of fairly short-range champions, is a good addition for them. I mean, once you've got Lucian on the other side and Caitlyn's up, it's kind of obvious that they probably go the direction of Caitlyn. That will be coming in this time. And for Gambit, what are they going to go with? They're looking for a mid laner here, considering the fact that Renekton surely will go over onto Darien, hovering over Malphite right now.
Gambit desperately needs some ability power damage. They've got a large amount of physical damage, and we've seen physical compositions not do particularly well, because if you don't get ahead early, it is so easy to itemize against that sort of comp. So in the last couple of seconds, we do see Alex defaulting to Orianna. This is something that a lot of the Season 3 mid laners who were in the LCS, it's a champion they have in their back pocket. It is very good because it'll combo, that ball delivery system thanks to Renekton and Zhao. You're going to eventually have shockwaves, not meh waves, as you do like to call out from time to time. But I feel like both of these teams have got pretty well-rounded compositions. As far as team fights play out in the later stages, Gambit needs to hit multi-man ultimates with Sona, Orianna, and Zhao. If they do not, I think the cleanup power from Super Hot Crew is better. And of course, you've got the intervention from that mid lane Kayle, which is always going to be very useful.
And if you look at Gambit's lineup and compare it to that they played against SK yesterday, you've got the same core in there. Zhao jungle, Orianna mid lane, Lucian AD carry. Those three put up massive scores yesterday. Thresh was the support player in that game, obviously banned out this time, and Aatrox globally banned because of that bug. Renekton was the choice for Darien. So Gambit obviously feeling that yesterday was a strong setup for them, and it's hard to really argue if you look down the numbers. Zhao 9-1-10, Orianna 7-1-11, Lucian 5-1-8. They had a great game yesterday. If they can reproduce that here today, they're looking good.
Yeah, and they also have champions that are going to be more effective in the early stages of the game. Thanks to the fact that Zhao and Renekton are going to be so powerful, leading up to level 6 and at level 6, level 7, it should give them the opportunity to jump on champions like Ryze, like Kayle, who want to build up items. A champion like Kayle and Ryze need to get 2 or 3 core items before they're in threat of killing anybody in an opposing team. We'll see if Gambit can take advantage of that.
Well, now that the players have selected their champions, let's check your predictions for the match. Big numbers in this one, with 89% of the vote. You believe that Gambit have the edge. Hard to argue with those kind of numbers.
It is very hard, and based on how Gambit looked yesterday, I think they're here to play now. We often talk about the Gambit mindset and how serious they take some of their games. We're getting into the last Super Week, we're getting into playoffs. One of these teams is going to All-Stars. You heard Froggen saying, we want it to be us. Gambit have something to say about that.
So here we go, in-game then, the Super Hot Crew taking on Gambit. What is this one going to end up like? If you look down some of the starting items there, for Edward in particular, a little bit different coming out, going himself a Ruby Crystal and Mana Pot there right from the start. One thing I'm interested in is level 1 here. We have been seeing a lot more level 1 action since the 4.4 patch. Will we see that here again today?
The possibility is there, but I don't feel like either of these teams have significantly superior level 1s. You've got some CC from Ryze and Pantheon, for example. You have similar CC from Renekton and Zhao, but to commit to a level or skill path that way is a little different. You don't have a Leona, you don't have a Morgana, your traditional invades. Well, we have been seeing those when the invades happen, it is delayed. They start at 140, 145, making use of that late vision, thanks to the trinket wards coming up at 2 minutes. And there's still time for Gambit to invade, but it doesn't look like anything's going to be happening. Seems to be the same defensive start as always.
Yeah, big line across the entire map from both sides of this game. And looking like we are going to be seeing red buff start for Diamond. Did this route yesterday, playing that Xin Zhao, and also at the other side of the map, Pantheon waiting for Impaler by his blue buff. Are they going to step forward from this one? We see that Edward is in that corner brush there down on the bottom side of the river, and he's probably just going to get a ward on the ramp by the Wraiths.
Yeah, going to make sure there's no delayed invades here from the Super Hot crew as well. The one thing I want to keep my eyes on when these minions do make it to lane is how this duo is going to work out. Edward is going to get spotted out, but very good positioning from Genja just to get a little of additional poke. Now, this is key for Super Hot crew. They need to make use of the range of Caitlyn and Karma against Genja and Edward on Lucian and Sona. If they get a lot of early damage and root Sona before she hits level 2 or level 3 and starts getting sustain and poke back, that's when Super Hot crew can take advantage of those squishy opponents.
Interestingly enough, when I mentioned the jungle paths for both teams, they switched over, and Xin Zhao did his red buff and Pantheon came down and did his, no, other way around. Pantheon did the red and Xin Zhao did the blue. So they're going to be crossing over once again, see where they come back into it. And there we see the stats from MrRalleZ as Caitlyn in week number 1. 9-3-2, we finished that one. Good game actually coming out from, despite actually losing out in the end. We'll see how this one turns out here today.
MrRalleZ always has fantastic numbers in almost all of the games, whether they're winning or losing. And it's a testament to his laning ability and his positioning in team fights. Now, we do see that Migxa is trying to put poke down, but he is actually half of his mana pool down, whereas Edward still has 2/3 of his mana pool. So advantage already to Gambit. They've sustained through those first initial poke trades, and if Migxa keeps spamming out those inner flames from his Q, he's not going to have enough mana to poke and shield, and that's when Gambit can start going aggressive.
Super Hot crew have been a traditionally aggressive bottom lane. There's no way around that one, as once again Edward getting some poke down onto MrRalleZ. Migxa shielding him up there to get out of any potential aggro from Edward and Genja. And Edward, if anyone knows how to play Sona, it's him. He's probably played more Sona than anything else in these last 2 seasons of the LCS throughout Europe and North America, where he was briefly last season. His Impaler now is moving up towards his top lane, but he will have Diamond waiting.
I think Diamond is aware of this because he's delaying this. They're not going on Mimer yet. Impaler's going to be in so much trouble when they jump on him.
Oh, he does dive in there, but there is a turnaround. Impaler going low, gets knocked up. First blood comes in for Gambit. Can they get themselves a second one? Diamond with that red buff on. Mimer going very low. He does have a flash, uses it very late here. Diamond does have a flash as well, but decides not to go in.
Yeah, I think he would have been taken out by the tower. He was on very low HP, decided to hold that flash. Very good play. Diamond Prox not only grabs first blood for his team, but he refreshes those double buffs, and very patient play. Mimer was playing defensively in the lane. He didn't put himself in a position where Diamond or Darien could jump on him, and that unfortunately meant that Impaler was the instant target. SELFIE prepared himself for a roam, but it didn't actually come. And a little bit of trading back and forth. I think as long as SELFIE has mana, he can actually heal himself because he does have that ability on Kayle. And we'll see how he continues to scale his champion. So far, doing well in CS.
Doing well, 25-24, pretty much bang even in that mid lane. Bottom lane is a little bit of a different story, though. We saw that a lot of mana used by Migxa are actually sitting very low on mana right now, and when I say very low, almost none. Edward doing constant harassment over onto MrRalleZ, and that leaves a 34-20 CS lead. We do see Impaler coming up. Edward's basically in a face check straight into him on this one. Uses the flash, exhaust is down, but there is a spear to finish things off. Meanwhile, SELFIE being pushed in that mid lane. He's actually going to flash and head towards the safety of that bottom lane. Diamond can't catch him, and that will bring us back to 1-1.
Yeah, at this point, Diamond's just trying to find him out. We do see that a smart recall allows SELFIE to get away, and in that bottom lane, the overextended Genja and Edward, they didn't have a ward in the river. It just allowed Impaler to, after respawning, come straight down and grab himself a kill. So, well played by the Super Hot crew to at least bounce back from giving up that early first blood. And we'll see how Edward continues to play this lane. He's actually picked up a scrying orb at a very, very early stage in the game. They're not completely obscure, but we do not see them frequently enough to say that's normal by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, speaking of scrying, we do see the tier there for Mimer in the top lane. He picked that up on his last route home. I know that was terribly cheesy as Darien is going to dive onto him here. This might be a little bit dangerous for Darien. Mimer starts to turn things around. Has he got the damage to finish him off? There's the Rune Prism one more time. Here comes the damage. Is it enough? No! One more auto attack would have finished him off. Darien walks back to the safety of the tower.
And that is Darien with boots and 2 Doran's items. Mimer burned through most of his mana pool to make that happen, but it ended up being worthwhile. He's got a CS advantage already, even though he was forced out of lane, and that is partially why so many people are saying Ryze is a counter to Renekton. You can hold him in place, you have good damage from your overload, especially in these early stages of the game, and what we are seeing from Mimer that is different from yesterday's Ryze by Overpower is he got himself a very early tier. We actually had some heated discussions regarding the build path that Ryzes can take, and I think if you're going for an aggressive damage build, you go tier first, and now we're going to see the Rod of Ages next. It's just going to allow him to get a maxed out 750 mana around about that 25-minute mark, which is pretty standard.
He has a considerable lead in terms of CS in that top lane now, as well, as you can see him just racking them up with his ultimate running, and that leaves him at 44 CS with 1,000 gold to head home and spend, and we'll see if he goes directly home from that on. Yep, just moving back to the safety of his tower before doing so. This bottom lane, as we look back down there, double Doran's Blade here for Genja. On the other side, Vamp Scepter actually coming out for MrRalleZ. Wants that sustained to match up with the heals of Edward Sona.
It's not only a matter of wanting, he needs it as well. Yeah. Thanks to the fact that Edward is going to be able to keep Genja topped up, it forces MrRalleZ build path somewhat. What we do see, though, is that Migxa is still sticking with that Spell Thief line. He has upgraded it to the Frostfang, getting some pretty good pokes so far, has already earned a total of 250 additional gold. Darien is going to find Impaler, or vice versa.
Mimer's coming around the corner here. This might not be the fight that Darien's looking for, and he just wanted to put down a bit of harassment there onto Impaler. He got that off, had to use his dominance actually, and then slices and dices back off to victory. Meanwhile, we do see that blue buff coming over here for Aleksei for the first time in the game. Darien
needs to be a little bit careful, knowing that Dominus is not available. If Mimer manages to catch him a little bit out of position where Darien's at about 50% HP, I think Mimer's actually going to have enough damage with that tier and the mana stacking up to get a kill on Renekton. So we'll see how that matchup plays out. For the time being, MrRalleZ, he was a little bit down on CS. He has managed to at least close that gap and remain even with Genja. But we'll see how this lane continues to play out. Migxa on this Karma hasn't really gained super hard control of the lane. But again, it is something we've seen so often. You poke down Sona and Lucian, and they just heal back through it.
Now it's the poke back on towards Genja, and instant heals. However, when you start to run out of mana, that's when it becomes a problem in this lane for Edward, and we'll see if the Super Hot crew try and force anything back. Migxa himself is running fairly low on mana at this point, as the wards do go down, and, well, down, taken down even, as that one is put in, and they had the auto attacks to deal with that one. MrRalleZ starting to push things up, though, there, and I have to give him the credit of coming back in this lane. That's going to be another good pilt over Peacemaker. This could be interesting, though. We see Impaler coming around. He is currently level 5. Will be hitting 6 here very shortly to jump in.
If Genja sticks around, this is definite tower dive potential. He does have Flash and Barrier, however, and we do see the Grand Skyfall, so Impaler's trying to get in range. Impaler's one of the few Pantheons that is not afraid to tower dive at level 6 instantly. We'll just see how he continues to play it out. We also see Migxa does have some mana available, so he's also got the ability to give that shield speed boost to his team members to either get in or get out of the fight early.
Well, look at the gold. It's actually in favor of the Super Hot crew right now, with MrRalleZ finally taking the lead over Genja, and that top lane that's going so well for Mimer's Impaler, and Diamond gonna just meet up here inside of the jungle. We can see that SELFIE is starting to come around, is level 8 now, so has intervention. Diamond knows that he's not gonna get any more action from that little one-on-one.
It may open up Dragon, though. If the rest of Gambit respond, they do have enough damage and they know Impaler's low, but they gotta be careful for the Grand Skyfall. You did see that Diamond move towards the pit and then immediately backed away. Just before that little engage, we did see Impaler forced to clear out that last little lizard on the red buff, and that was thanks to the invade by Diamond earlier on. He stole the red buff away from Super Hot crew. So Gambit, they're staying even on gold, but generally Diamond has just been a little bit more mobile around the map. He's stolen a few more camps, and he's been getting in Super Hot crew's face. We'll see where Impaler uses that first Grand Skyfall, because there's kill potential for him, plus any of his other lanes. Alex does seem to have SELFIE. We'll see how aggressive he goes in.
gonna push in their auto attacks. There is a shockwave used. SELFIE gonna go pretty low. Diamond's off to the side. Intervention has been used, but as he wears out, Diamond dives in there. Command Protect will keep him safe from the tower. Well, they didn't have the damage to finish SELFIE.
Flash for jungler, for flash for mid laner. SELFIE decided to use the intervention after all of the damage. He was trying to hold on to it as greedy as possible. You tend to see those interventions used to block the damage from shockwave. Nevertheless, it didn't end up costing him too much. Impaler does have flash. I don't think he's going to go for a steal. Gambit are going to secure this dragon uncontested.
Smited off there in the end by Diamond, and that is the first dragon of the game going over to Gambit Gaming. 15,500 gold to 14.5. So that takes away the lead that the Super Hot crew had built up for themselves. But MrRalleZ, who, as we said, been a fantastic AD carry so far, despite the fact that his team have struggled in, especially this second half of the season, he is now 10 CS in the lead. BF Sword added in to his Vamp Scepter from earlier. So
we need to see how MrRalleZ is going to deal with the Renekton Zhao combo. The difficulty for Gambit is going to be finding the target they want to kill. Because if they try to jump on MrRalleZ, they're going to allow Ryze, Pantheon, and Kayle to just go past the Gambit front line and wreck Aleksei and Genja. But if Gambit decide to try and focus Ryze and Kayle and Pantheon down, who are going to get quite tanky and have that intervention, it's going to allow MrRalleZ to focus the back line. So we really need to see how Gambit are going to deal with focusing their targets and catching Super Hot Crew out. Because I think the longer this game goes, the more I prefer Super Hot Crew's composition. They haven't lost any towers. Yes, they're 900 gold down thanks to the dragon, but I think Ryze is going to outscale Renekton. Kayle is going to eventually offer more to your team thanks to her splash damage, thanks to the intervention than what Orianna will, and it's a lot less likely to mess up. You can mess up a shockwave. It's much harder to mess up an intervention. Much harder, not impossible.
Yeah, not impossible. We've seen some people die in the past, let's just say that. But Alex continues to lead the CS on that lane. No kills, no assist between them. And you see that Alex now, with that Athene's Unholy Grail, is starting to do some good damage onto SELFIE. But are they going to roam in? Here comes the man drop and cancelled.
Decided against it. 10-second cooldown. He's going to have that available in a moment or two. SELFIE was moving out of the lane, and SELFIE had no mana. So I can only imagine Impaler was going for it now. Impaler bitten off a little more than he can chew. I think Darien maybe a bit preemptive on that Dominus. The one thing I do want to touch on as far as the items are concerned is that SELFIE actually opted to go for Berserker's Greaves as his boot upgrade as opposed to the Sorcerer's Shoes. So he really wants to get more auto attacks down. He's got that Stinger already sitting in his inventory, going to be working towards Nash's Tooth. And Diamond, once again, he's positioning himself for the red buff invade. I actually think he's a bit early because he left that little lizard and it took him a long time to clear the camp out. So we'll see if Diamond can get in there to steal it.
He may just collapse in onto this bottom lane now. He's being pushed up by Genja and Edward, but that poke from Karma already starting to sting here. Already Edward down there to half of his health as well, but in the end, Diamond is still waiting for this one. Alex is starting to roam down a little bit maybe as well. He's currently at the Wraith camp, and they are going to start to move in.
Yeah, they're going to go for the Christian missed.
It's missed. Migxa going down to less than half HP. Can they finish him off now? Diamond actually going low as well. MrRalleZ trying to come back on this one. Edward is super low. There's a pilt over. MrRalleZ flash. Ace in the hole going to be blocked by Genja. They should be able to walk away. No one else coming in. Well done.
Grand Skyfall is still available for Impaler, and he's moving towards the lane. He's coming in on Genja.
Oh, can Genja escape from this one? He's going to get landed onto. There is a stun coming in as well. Does use his barrier, though.
So manages to get away. Gambit, they whiffed the Krish, as I called it, in that team fight. Crescendo did not connect with anybody in Super Hot Crew. Thanks to them not being stunned and locked up, it meant that Diamond and Genja couldn't stick to a single target. So a counter gank by Impaler comes out. It's only going to secure them this tower, assuming the minions are enough. Yep, there's another wave streaming in behind. So advantage to Super Hot Crew. They take down the first tower of the game and the gold leads.
We heard from Froggen in our last interview after our last match that Super Hot Crew in scrims right now are looking so very good, and if they can bring that here to this game against Gambit, they have a very realistic chance of picking up a win, and so far, hard to really argue with that one. This is a very strong looking Super Hot Crew team. One thing I want to point out though, look at Mimer and Darien's CS now.
Yeah, we'll see how this works out for him, because at this point in time, that early game advantage that I told you about regarding Gambit's composition with Renekton and Zhao and having that Lucian and Sona against Caitlyn and Karma, we've got past that point. All of a sudden, Super Haku have got damage. Super Haku are looking scary. With Catalyst and 400 mana on that Tear of the Goddess from Mimer, he is already looking to be a pretty scary Ryze. Diamond is on a bit of invade. He's going to get collapsed on.
Oh, this is bad news for him. Does get slowed there. Ryze going to come in. Does flash, but straight into the face of SELFIE. And there is the kill. Migxa actually picking that one up in the end. Super Haku called that one so well.
Very well coordinated. After grabbing the bottom tower, Super Haku did not hesitate to send their AD carrying support to the top lane. SELFIE's in trouble.
Oh, is he going to be able to survive? He does have intervention, and there it is used perfectly. We'll be able to just walk on away from that damage from Alex.
So the reason that Super Haku were able to get that kill onto Diamond is after they got the bottom lane tower, they did the right thing with a Caitlyn AD carry. They sent it to the top lane because they want to get another tower. Then move to the middle lane. Once they get all the towers down, then they're going to look to get some dragon control. As it stands, Alex and Edward have kept SELFIE at bay, kept him away from the minion wave. And it looks like Mimer is going to be defending the bottom lane. He's got some decent wave clear thanks to his ultimate, and because any spell cast reduces the rest of his cooldowns by a second, he's always going to have his ultimate available. It is a very effective tool for him.
Super Haku are pushing for tower number 2 here, moving in towards Darien's outer turret in that top lane as he just slices and dices in. A lot of poke damage coming onto him, and while he's going to be forced away from that one, also the minions were taken out, which is going to delay that move for the Super Haku.
What's even nicer for the Super Haku, because Darien had built to deal with Mimer with that Spirit Visage, he's not going to be tanky enough against MrRalleZ. Unfortunately, Super Haku, with their duo lane top, they've given up dragon control for now in favor of trying to get that tower. I do believe they will be trading objectives, which should still keep Super Haku ahead in total gold. Because the gold is still so close, it means when Super Haku are comfortable to fight for a dragon, they're not going to be so far behind it's an unrealistic fight.
Now they're moving down towards the mid lane. Only one outer turret is left standing here for Gambit and an entire Super Haku team outside of Mimer, who's making sure that Gambit don't get one back on them in this bottom lane. Will be converging into that mid lane. And actually, Aleksei is recalling there. Are they going to make the push for it? Impaler, SELFIE now moving down towards this bottom lane here. Comes a man drop in towards Genja. Does have enough mana just to dash away to safety.
That was a bit anticlimactic. Genja had just enough mana to get that relentless pursuit. Managed to get out of range of Pantheon. Pantheon, unfortunately, not landing the stun. Thanks to that little move, and because MrRalleZ and Migxa actually moved to the mid lane, it has allowed Darien to get onto the turret and to even out that top lane turret. So now, Gambit, with this little strategic move, they grab themselves an advantage. We did see for a brief moment MrRalleZ and Migxa in the mid lane, and what I'm expecting Super Haku to do with their composition, get that last outer turret, then get some wards in and around the red or the blue buff for Gambit, and try to contest a fight. If you can keep Gambit in a nice enclosed space, the splash damage from Ryze, as well as Kayle, as well as Karma, is going to do a lot of work. The thing they need to be very afraid and very scared of is not to all get hit by a shockwave, though. So we'll see who's going to come out the better in those tight corridor battles.
I'm going to have to keep a hold of these towers, because if they want to fight for that next dragon, losing towers is only going to make that task a lot harder for them when it does come around the next time. They've already started clearing out wards, the sweeper lens with both MrRalleZ and Migxa, and there is another blue buff for SELFIE, who does have his Nash's tooth now complete. As you mentioned, though, they are going to rotate the AD carry and support towards this mid lane. Gambit trying to hold on to that one, though, having both Orianna and Lucian, and in fact Sona there now as well.
One of the things that works into Super Haku's favor as far as the upcoming dragon battles go is they have their bottom outer turret. So as long as Mimer is just planting himself there, pitching a tent, roasting some s'mores, killing some minions, they're always going to be able to fall back to that little defensive posture. And if Gambit want to pick a fight afterwards, they have no turret to fall back to in that bottom lane. So it's a little bit more risky for Gambit as far as the map presence and the control in that area of the map is concerned.
Alex just going roaming towards the top lane and seeing if he could find SELFIE, who had already started to move back towards the mid lane. That's going to give them a 3-2 advantage for just a little while here, but both Diamond and Alex will be around that area should they be called in. We can see down in the bottom side, Mimer's started to actually move up here. Renekton is going to catch him inside of the river, and I feel like they're both just going to go down and keep keep farming that bot lane.
Yeah, Darien could have had an opportunity to go aggressive there. You actually seen Mimer using his Rune Prison on a minion. So it meant that Darien had a couple of seconds to jump in and get some harass. It didn't work out, and he's actually the one taking the damage.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to have enough to kill him here, though, but Mimer will chase in, and here comes SELFIE from the side. Darien going to get slowed, going to get Rune Prisoned up. He's going to be able to slice and dice. Flashes away, the man drops coming in. Edward and Aleksei are both there as well. They're going on towards Edward. Have they got the damage? Great crescendo. Shockwave, though, didn't do the damage because of that intervention from SELFIE. Great timing.
That was brilliant timing from SELFIE. Because Impaler didn't take that burst, and because of the damage they have applied to Gambit, they are going to be able to apply pressure on this mid turret. We'll see how many wards they placed in the jungle. Look at that incredible amount of vision that Super Hot Crew have just earned from using that ultimate, from using that play. Super Hot Crew will also be able to get this tower down unless Gambit pull off a monumental defense, and I don't think they can hold it.
No, they can't. This is 5 versus 2 in a best case. Genja did start to move in from his jungle there as well, but the Super Hot Crew able to get the better of them. That leaves them 3-1 ahead in turrets. And look at the gold. Still in favor of Gambit, but it's very, very close.
And thanks to the mobility that Super Hot Crew have, with Karma, with Kayle, with the Grand Skyfall from Pantheon, it allows Super Hot Crew more opportunities to make plays. Now with all of the vision they have in the bottom half of the map, the moment Gambit seem a little overextended or a little out of place, or there's a buff that Super Hot Crew wants to take, they have the tools available in their kit to react very quickly. Gambit does not have that opportunity. They don't have the ability to do that. So Gambit needs to be on point. They need to be at the right place at the right time. Otherwise, they're going to start losing dragons and blues, etc.
Some more items coming in as well. So let's go through them while we seem to have time. Mimer on your screen, his tier is up to about 650 mana now. So getting close to getting that finished off. Also have the Rod of Ages picked up as his first major item. Across the board though, let's have a look at the AD carries. Bloodthirster Zeal is done for Caitlyn. On the other side, Genja kind of split between the both. Got his Zeal with that BF sword, got the crit cloak as well, so looking like he's moving up to his Infinity Edge first. Yeah, at the very least there's no Bilgewater Cutlass just yet, so we may not be seeing the Eye Edge, Blade of the Ruined King, Zephyr. But I think as far as the items go, there's a definite advantage on the side of Super Hot Crew. Until about a second ago when Alex did actually complete his death cap. He now has a very large amount of damage. If we look at the bottom lane, we do see Darien's going to kick Cold by Impaler. Once again, the stun does come down, but have they got the damage here to finish off? Darien has his ultimate running. There's still a lot of damage coming in. There's another Rune Prison to keep him locked up, but Diamond and Edward did come down. Darien was able to stay safe.
Yeah, Spirit Visage plus Sunfire Cape, there's a lot of damage that they need to get through. One of the core items on Ryze, after getting your Rod of Ages in your tier, is to grab yourself a Void Staff. The amount of spells that you throw out, you need to burn through some of that magic resistance. And there's not a massive amount on the side of Gambit right now, but there will be as this game continues to progress on when you're dealing with basically 3 AP champions. Migxa grabbed himself that Haunting Guy, so he's also going to be hurting a little bit. Now, Mimer is trying to make his way to this fight. Super Hot Crew do not want to get jumped on until he arrives or until he can flank. And I think Super Hot Crew are doing a good job at stalling Gambit. Blue buff is up, and they're just trying to push them backwards. Now Mimer's going to get close. A fight can break out for Super Hot Crew. They're going to jump on Alex if Mimer comes from behind.
This is the fight for Dragon that we expected. Gambit are going to move into Dragon Pit, and Darien really starting that off on with his Sunfire Cape. Super Hot Crew do have Mimer, as you said, separated from the team. So there's 4 on the bottom side, Mimer on the top. It's going to be a pincer move if they go for a fight, always a risk.
If Super Hot Crew group up, there is going to be a flash engage from Zhao. Now we see that's just poke. I don't think the full fight's going to happen. Gambit are looking for a 3 or a 4-man shockwave. Dragon still has not been secured. It keeps resetting in the pit. And look at Mimer. He's been pushed away by Genja, so this is a 4-on-4 for the time being.
4 versus 4, but those two are rejoining the fight. Migxa getting some good poke off from the side, and it's clear that both teams want this Dragon. It would separate them or really bring the Super Hot Crew back into a lead, not a massive one, but for Gambit it will put them nicely ahead. MrRalleZ has already backed off here.
Super Hot Crew could have played this dance a little bit longer. The minion wave is pushing in the top lane in their favor and in the bottom lane. SELFIE, he's going into basically a 5-man Gambit while MrRalleZ is pushing in a turret. Super Hot Crew are in a little bit of trouble if they get caught, but they're not. They peel for the tower.
Darien actually using his ultimate from this one. They're going to take down the Dragon. Let's see if they can keep a hold of that tower. Edward taking a big blast out of Migxa. They start to move across the side. That tower is going to be falling here. What are the Super Hot Crew going to do? Do they want to fight this one? Pantheon's on the top side. It looks like it's Gambit that don't want to fight.
That would have been the perfect time for Super Hot Crew to jump in, but they didn't. Instead, they forced Gambit the long way around. Super Hot Crew have got the inner turret, and they've got a little bit of a minion wave. Not feeling brave enough to go for the inhib turret, but I think a little bit messy, but Super Hot Crew come away grabbing themselves the overall advantage. The tower is down. Gambit have only secured one turret this game. If Gambit had been a little quicker to jump on Super Hot Crew, that could have been so different, but Super Hot Crew play it a little bit loose, and they get away clean.
And 3 out of 3 dragons for Gambit. They're going to go in towards Darien. He's pretty tanky by this point. We saw it earlier that the two of them couldn't finish him off despite being able to lock him up multiple times with that Rune Prison and the stun out of Pantheon, and instead they decide to back off. Probably got a decent amount of gold to be spending here, to be honest. And in fact, there is 2,700 there on the AD carry. Everyone else over 1,000.
And that actually could have been a big reason as to why Super Hot Crew didn't fight. If they were sitting on that much bankroll, they didn't want to pick a battle when, even though the gold is even, it was unspent gold on Super Hot Crew, so technically they would have been down. Now once again, Darien somewhat overextended. Mimer's going to try to zone him out. He does have flash and slice and dice. Mimer's farming.
I just feel like you're never going to kill Darien. I think Darien has the same thing in his mind as well. He just walked away to the tri-bush, and Mimer didn't even bother coming in there. He wanted the farm more than anything other than that. So let's have a look at some more items. MrRalleZ now got his static shift added into that Bloodthirst and the workings of that Last Whisper as well. I
have no idea how Gambit are going to deal with this Ryze and Kayle combo because we're at the 30-minute mark. The tier is fully stacked for Mimer, so he's going to be trying to upgrade that to the Seraphs, get the shield up there as well. We see Migxa is continuing down the damage route. He's got Liandry's Torment built up. And I actually think that's a very smart, oh, so close. I actually think that's a very smart item against a Renekton and a Zhao, because if Super Hot Crew get into a poke situation, Karma is their primary long-range poke. You throw down those Qs, and because it's percentage HP against two champions that build a lot of HP, it's going to allow you to try chunk them for 10, 20% of the HP before fights begin. But Migxa needs to be on point. He cannot afford to miss those inner flames.
This turret looking to be defended by the Super Hot Crew. It's very low in that middle lane. In fact, they've brought their entire team up towards this mid lane to try and force Gambit to back away from that one. Darien actually is recalling in the bottom lane. Actually, as I say that, he decides, you know what, I'm going to stick around. Ryze was there. Might as well have myself a free wave of minions.
And we'll see how Gambit continue to play this game out. They have slowly pulled themselves a small gold lead ahead. In general, they have more CS in all of their lanes. This tower is incredibly low in the mid lane as well. Super Hot Crew, yes, they are going to continue to scale. Ryze is going to continue to grow longer than that of Renekton. Kayle's going to continue to grow and offer different power to that of Orianna. But they need to find a way to make it stick. Super Hot Crew are trying to do what Fnatic did yesterday. They avoided the fight, they avoided the Dragon Pit, they went for the inner turret. It worked in that situation, but I don't know if they're going to be able to recreate that situation. So we'll see how they play it out. Diamond is thinking about a tower dive, but it's going to be difficult against a Ryze.
Well, not even the tower dive in this scenario. It's like, okay, we force Ryze away from that one, or we kill him. One of those two is going to happen for us. In this scenario, they got themselves a tower. That puts them not quite 3,000, more like 2,000 gold in the lead of this one. They're still 4-2 behind in turrets, and if you leveled up the gold from the turrets here, Gambit would be far and away ahead in this one because of those 3 dragons.
Yeah, that's the truth. And I think Gambit are trying to now assert some map dominance, assert some map pressure. If Super Hot Crew had gone into that dragon fight about 5 or 6 minutes ago with that the gold they had in their back pocket spent, they may have wanted to force the fight, because a big fight now is going to probably cost an inhibitor. I think with, you know, the bottom lane being to the inner turret for Super Hot Crew and being to the inhibitor turret for Gambit, if you lose a team fight badly, we're at the point in the game where it will cost you a Baron or an inhib very quickly. There's so much damage on both sides, and with SELFIE having completed his death cap, he's also going for a bursty Kayle. He's going to be throwing that Q out and just trying to melt the squishy Lucian or Sona. We'll see if we can find someone. Diamond's the next target. Death push, and a little bit awkward.
Well, he's got the stun down. There is a shockwave only hitting Impaler. Diamond uses his ultimate to push them away, but they've caught him. That's a good crescendo. Here comes the Cullen from the back. They dive towards Mimer. He's flashed away, but they could romp home with a few kills here. Mimer actually using his Zera's shield there to keep him alive for a little while. Impaler will fall despite the intervention, and that is 3-0 in favor of Gambit, and surely the Baron.
Super Hot Crew tried to force a play where they shouldn't have. They jumped onto Diamond, who was pretty tanky at that point, got the makings of the Randuins, and it was an awkward engage to begin with. Gambit now not stopping. They've grabbed themselves 3 kills. They're on the Baron. MrRalleZ and SELFIE are trying to poke as best they can, but this is risky. It's 5v2 at the end of the day. They're going in to try to get the Baron. Genja's got so much damage.
All the damage back from SELFIE though, and he's got the splash damage in there. Edward's gonna go low. Actually survives, and they manage to get the Baron and take down SELFIE.
Yeah, that's the problem. When you're trying to engage 2v5, there is hard CC from multiple members of Gambit. From a game that was 2,000 goal difference, and Super Hot Crew had the ability to control the game, they forced a team fight. Now, we missed the beginning of this fight where Diamond was jumped on. Impaler was forced out before anything could happen. And I actually think Diamond had a very, very good crescent sweep with that Zenza ultimate. It knocked Super Hot Crew away. And the moment Super Hot Crew start retreating, you've got a movement speed increase from Orianna, movement speed increase from Sona, you've got movement speed increase from Lucian. They just ran Super Hot Crew down. Now Gambit gonna get more kills and the Dragon.
Actually, they will get themselves a first Dragon here, the Super Hot Crew, but it's going to cost them. Impaler is going to fall there, and I suppose it is a kill for a Dragon, which in the grand scheme is going to be worth it for them. That's their first one of the game, but they've fallen so far behind.
Yeah, I think Gambit could probably get that middle turret as well. They have decided to recall, actually. There's very low HP on that, if memory serves correctly. Yeah, that's a breath of fresh air. Will knock that mid turret down, and I'm pretty sure the minions should be able to close this one out. Backline, there we go. So, Dragon, Baron, Tower, multiple kills. And with Genja going for a GA after his Static Shiv and Infinity Edge, this is a traditional AD carry build, which is something we don't necessarily associate with Genja. It's working very, very well. He melted through the members of Super Hot Crew, and when he grabs himself some armor penetration as well, if you look down the items on Super Hot Crew, there's not a lot of armor. They haven't started building up those defensive stats against a very armor-heavy composition of Gambit. So we'll see how Gambit decides to itemize and take advantage of their current weakness in the Super Hot Crew.
Funnily enough, the Zephyr wouldn't even be that bad against this team with all the CC that they've got in there. Well, we'll see if that comes later on for Genja. Right now, he's probably feeling very confident with that Guardian Angel in there. He's got that Infinity Edge, the Static Shiv, and Gambit with the Baron buff running, with Elixirs running as well. Therefore, Aleksei, they're going to dive straight towards his tower. Darien has got all the health in the world. He's got himself a Warmogs now as well. Actually, Genji getting blasted, but he will just quickly dodge out of that one. And there is tower number 4 for Gambit.
The one team fight that happens at the 30-minute mark is such a massive swing in power because both teams are even for so long. So they accrue multiple map objectives, and this is meaning Super Hot Crew they've got a lot of damage on Genji, which was good. They've defended the tower, but they didn't have enough hard CC to lock him down and kill him through his GA. So Gambit just back away. They'll be happy with an inner turret, and they've now got an 8,000 gold lead after evening up those turret kills.
Get some regen from that Baron going, and actually there's a big wave for someone to farm on that top lane here as well for Gambit. That will in fact be Genja, who's headed up that way. He's already got 329 million to his name, probably just one more at that point than Aleksei. Similar skills and assists for them as well. Aleksei 104, Genja 103, and you see that he's all regen back up. Interesting to see where Genja goes next in his build. He's got another 1,900 gold to spend when he does head off home in a second. Another item coming in there, Void Staff for Aleksei that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, his shockwaves have not been particularly impressive so far. We caught 3 of them on stream, 2 of them against SELFIE. 1 of them was in that bottom lane, and it didn't really work out. In the jungle, he also only managed to catch Impaler. But now that Super Hot Crew are forced to defend in a very enclosed space, like on these inhibitor steps, it's actually easier for Alex to make that ability land. We do see the rest of Gambit. They're just face tanking this turret, not even afraid. It's going to go down soon.
Yeah, look, it's Darien that goes in there. They threw literally everything they've got in, but Diamond now going to take some damage as well. SELFIE himself bought a Void Staff when he last went home in there, but they're not able to keep that inhibitor turret, and Gambit slowly but surely working their way through the base.
Yeah, at this point in time, Gambit are going to play this one by the numbers. Roll around the map, take all of the turrets. Genja, that's a lot of damage from that ace in the hole. It still hits particularly hard. He also has no built-in lifesteal right now. I just take a quick look at his character sheet. He is just relying on his 6% from runes and mastery. So No Bloodthirster, no Blade of the Rune King. I think that's probably going to be the next item he wants to work. Well, Last Whisper, then Bloodthirster. Rely on Sona heals to keep you topped off. And I wondered how Gambit were going to make plays on this map, and the answer is brute force. They just face tank that turret with Zhao and Renekton, knock them away when Super Hot Crew come close, and grab the objective.
SELFIE trying to push things back out here for the Super Hot Crew. Give himself some more farm along the way as well. He's way past the halfway mark of the river. Just making sure that that one gets pushed. Oh, let's not forget there's no inner turret on that bottom lane for Gambit. That was taken down much earlier on in the game by the Super Hot Crew. But if you look at the gold, it's starting to approach a 10,000 gold. It's such a hard position to come back against any team, but I think against Gambit more than others.
Yeah, and also the psychological effect of that jungle fight that Super Hot Crew started that cost them this massive disadvantage right now. If Super Hot Crew can turtle for a couple of minutes longer and make this gold lead a little bit less relevant, their champions are going to be able to scale and deal with Gambit. However, they cannot afford to make mistakes. If you look at the side of Gambit, they have 4 sweeping lenses on their side. Some of them are upgraded. And if you look at Super Hot Crew's vision, it is very, very good for the time being. So as long as Super Hot Crew can maintain some vision superiority in their jungle, it'll give them the tools available to engage on Gambit and make the right decisions. But Gambit need to make better use of those sweepers. Now they're pushing deep and they're pushing far. They want to deny the wards.
Another Genja build update here. Actually did pick himself up a Stinger, a Vamp Scepter, and that Alacrity upgrade for his Berserker Greaves as well. And right now Gambit are closing in on towards that inner turret on the bottom lane, but Super Hot Crew actually forcing them away. Gonna try and put some damage back, but the rest of Gambit are actually there. Diamond was the one that got locked up in the front. In the end, they're doing damage from both the top and the bottom side. Gambit losing quite a lot of health. They're going in on towards Aleksei. She's used the barrier in there. Diamond has to flash away as well, and that wasn't half bad. In fact, the Super Hot Crew, they're going to keep going for this one. The man drop comes in. Edward puts down a great 2-man crescendo, but Darien get caught out. Can they finish him off? He's gone so very low from that one. The Super Hot Crew continue to chase through, but are able to not able to catch Gambit, who've sped themselves up and got out.
The inner turret for Gambit is now going to be at risk, as Super Hot Crew are still relatively healthy. That was the strength of the Super Hot Crew composition I talked about earlier in the game. In the jungle, in those tight spaces, oh, that's a flash!
Diving straight in there, SELFIE not messing around, nukes down Aleksei, now Genja getting caught out, does use his barrier, still has that GA available for him. Turret goes down here for the Super Hot Crew, they're going to look for more. Baron is live as well to turn back around onto here if the Super Hot Crew want to.
They can get the inhibitor and the Baron if they peel back. They've got to make sure they don't get collapsed on by Gambit though, and that is a very big turnaround. Don't know if you could hear Migxa yelling nice in the background, because I sure as hell did. And he is incredibly excited. That was a very good play. That was the risk that Gambit had.
Going around to Dragon from this one. I mean, Aleksei is not up for another 30 seconds. Possibly would argue that the Baron's going to be the target that you have to go for there, but the Super Hot Crew are happy with the gold that they've got from that. They're second out of 5 Dragons this game. They're all going to recall.
They're going to be so fast.
What are Gambit going to do here? They've got to be fast. They're all recalling, and Gambit can just walk straight in there.
Gambit can rush Baron down. With the amount of damage that we see on the side of Genja, he should be able to shred through this Baron very quickly. I'm looking at Home Guard boots. There are 5 pairs of Home Guard boots on the side of Super Hot Crew. They are motoring out of the base to try and contest this objective right now. Just before the fight breaks out, there is still not a massive amount of armor across all the members of Super Hot Crew. So for once, I feel that the Stinger's not a terrible item, because he doesn't need the Last Whisper armor penetration just yet.
Oh, Impaler going to face check the death rush. Are they going to be able to get away from this one? There's a crescendo only going on to Mimer, but it might be enough. He uses the shield. The intervention did keep him alive there. And now the Super Hot Crew try and back away. SELFIE, he's put himself all alone on the top side of the map. He won't be able to walk away from this. Darien actually flashing him for the stun. That's 5v4. Baron is the next target for Gambit.
All of that comes from the fact that Super Hot Crew did not try to rush Baron down. They gave a position on the Baron which allowed Gambit to be in the better spot to defend that engage. Now Super Hot Crew, they haven't given up yet. They still want to poke. There's still good AoE. Baron's down to 3,000, and here they come.
That is a lot of damage coming into them. Baron is going to be stopped here. There's a shockwave. He goes on to Impaler, but that's actually a 2-for-1 in favor of the Super Hot Crew. Flash away on the back. Aleksei is going to go down. It's a double kill. They're going to get the Baron, or are they? The Kayle comes through. Migxa is blocking it. The Baron is shredding through them, and there it is. Baron finished off. But look at the base. Look at the base from Gambit. The super minions pushing through onto those Nexus turrets.
And that's not the only turrets. In the top lane and the bottom lane, there are massive minion waves on both of the turrets of Gambit. The Super Hot crew have made that 10,000 gold lead a tiny 2,000 that is negated by the Baron buff stats. In the pit, Gambit were on the Baron. They were trying to focus it down, and it was only Diamond that really peeled away from the Dragon to try and jump onto Impaler. The shockwave came down, and it didn't really matter. Ryze, SELFIE, and MrRalleZ were destroying Gambit in the background. They lost their top inner turret, they almost lost the inhibitor turret, and the Nexus turret took a whole bunch of damage.
Absolutely crazy game here from this one. You have to give it to the Super Hot crew, showing some real character in this one. As you said, building up, getting stronger as every single team fight now comes around, and it looks like they may be pushing for even more here, taking away everything from that Gambit jungle. They're the ones with the Baron buff on. They're the ones with the super minions pushing through and doing the damage to those Nexus turrets. They might be able to just push Gambit away from this inhibitor turret that's so very low.
On the condition Super Hot crew do not put themselves out of position, their comp is going to be able to deal with the comp of Gambit. They have got tankiness, survivability, mobility, and more importantly, damage. So as long as they don't get caught out in, a poor position, they should be able to close this game out. With this inhibitor turret being so low, that's going to be 2 auto attacks from MrRalleZ that will be able to take it out. If SELFIE gets on there with all of the ability power that he has right now, that's also going to go down incredibly quickly. So Gambit are in full defense mode. We'll see if they can hold off.
I wonder who's going to be the one to step forward in this one. Who dares step forward in towards this Gambit team that can throw so much damage your way as well. Caitlyn Trap's going to be stood on there. Mimer peek forward. Here come the minions once again. MrRalleZ is going to brave it, and there is the inhibitor turret being taken. They're going to go on towards Darien. Decent damage done to him will force Gambit back away. That is now an open inhibitor.
Now I think Super Hot crew can either continue sieging this bottom lane or roll around to the top lane. There are still super minions pushing through the mid. It looks like they're going to play the siege game. Mimer still has his ultimate available. Ryze can just run in there, but very importantly, Genja's got that GA up. They're trying to poke down Darien, who is a very important member of the front line here for Gambit. Gold is now even. They've caught Genja!
They caught Genja out, but he still has that Guardian Angel. The crescendo comes through. Kayle comes in as well, but Darien being blown to pieces. They turn around. Diamond is going to fall. That's 5v4 for 1 minute here. Diamond not coming up for another 60 seconds. Gambit going back to heal off. The Super Hot crew are going to take down the second inhibitor. They can move straight towards that top tower.
Yeah, there's nothing stopping them right now. They are still ahead on kills and gold. And thanks to their composition scaling up into this heavy late game, there's very little Gambit can do. Gambit need to try and find a pick onto MrRalleZ or Mimer very quickly. Get them away and then deal with the rest of the team, but it's not the case. Super Hot crew with Baron buff still regenning him. They're now sieging the top turrets.
Pushing in onto that one, and we've seen that MrRalleZ not scared to step a little further forward and get those auto attacks in. The damage from Migxa is pretty strong. He's got a Void Staff in there as well with that Karma and that Haunting, guys. Or I should actually say, even more than that, the Leandris from earlier on, as they do step forward. The calling used by Genja, that will get rid of the minions for now.
So right now, Super Hot crew have decided to back away. They do have a fair amount of gold, around 2,000 on multiple members to spend, and they do have super minions pushing for at least the next 2.5, 3 minutes worth of gameplay. I think this is the smart call. They can restock their wards, they can upgrade their items. Lich Bane now completed on the side of Self. He's grabbed himself a Negatron cloak to deal with the magic damage of Orianna as well. With all of the items Super Hot crew have now picked up, they have to just siege their top turret, wait for the super minions to get to the base of Gambit, and then take the objective. Gambit have to fight a battle on multiple fronts, and that just puts Super Hot crew in such a strong position.
Migxa has now picked up a needlessly large rod as well, so that is your support doing quite a lot of damage, let's just say that.
Yeah, that's a lot of magic damage coming out, and then you've got all of the physical damage from Caitlyn and Pantheon. It's very difficult to prioritize one of those because there's just damage sources from all of the Super Hot crew. Gambit took too long to try to take advantage of Super Hot crew's comp. They didn't punish any of the lanes. They didn't shut down Ryze. They didn't shut down Kayle. And they sure as hell didn't shut down Caitlyn. So Super Hot crew came out of the laning phase completely even with the mistake. They've held out long enough for their champions to just outscale that of Gambit's and be in this great position.
wards coming over and swiftly dealt with as well as MrRalleZ will step forward. Diamond there being thrashed at by SELFIE. The turret is down to less than half HP. There is a step forward by Edward. Mimer going to get a little bit caught out. Darien's right in the middle of them, but there's no one else there. They're not there to help out Darien. He goes low, but he does walk away. They're culling from the backside. The inhibitor turret does go down. That's the final one. They're going to jump towards Genja. There's a crescendo coming in. Zhao knocks them all away. Aleksei goes low as well. Not quite finished off. Command Protect comes out. The Crocodile went back to heal, and he's now back into the mix. Those Nexus turrets, they're pretty low already. MrRalleZ going to tank up the first one. That's one Nexus turret down for the Super Hot crew.
They're going to grab the third inhibitor, and the army's with them. Now Diamond re-engages.
Impaler is going to be pushed down, but Darien being shredded lower and lower. Diamond is on towards MrRalleZ, but he'll net out of that one. Can they get any more kills here? They've got super minions coming in every single lane now. Aleksei goes low. Edward has taken down SELFIE. Diamond falls low, but they jump on towards Impaler. He flashes away, and they walk off.
While all of that was going on, the super minions were bashing down on that last standing Nexus turret. It has not been hit just yet, as I was saying. And the Super Hot crew, they needed the minions with them. They were trying to stall it out, and they were trying to buy time for super minions to get into the base. Unfortunately, Gambit did a good enough job to force the minion wave backwards. That meant that Super Hot crew stuck around, tried to stall, tried to bait out the fight without having the minions hitting the Nexus turrets. Now, with double super minions in each of the waves, for the next minute, it's just ended thanks to bottom inhibitor respawning. Super Hot crew are going to have to focus that objective. Buy, get SELFIE back in the mix, and grab that last inhibitor.
Crazy, crazy game here between Gambit and the Super Hot crew, and 20 seconds, less than in fact, until Baron does come back into play. And they're already in position from this one. MrRalleZ is going to collect his red buff before heading off to that top side of the river to join the rest of his team. 4 seconds. Well, look at Gambit's position. They've had to spend so much time in the base defending against those super minion pushes that they're not going to be in an ideal scenario, although you could argue that the Super Hot crew themselves not exactly there just yet, but they start to move. They can't lose this Baron or have a bad fight here, though.
No, there's nothing. Super Hot crew cannot get caught out, but I don't think Gambit are going to be able to catch them out. Because of the position that Super Hot crew has, Gambit will need to try steal. You have flashes to go over the wall, you have champions that can jump, but Super Hot crew wisely are backing out. They don't want to get caught by a multi-man crescendo and shockwave, because even at this stage, it could be devastating for them. Well, with the inhibitors being respawned, I think Super Hot crew should play the siege game. They've won all of the last team fights from the bottom lane about 15 minutes ago. And if they just get onto those objectives, they're winning with their current champions. Don't make the mistake of allowing Gambit to catch you out of position or catch you with those multi-target abilities.
Dragon going to SELFIE. He will just solo that one down, no problem for him. And head to join the rest of his team, actually moving towards blue buff, which is on Aleksei. So no blue buff to steal away for the Super Hot crew. Gambit kind of hovering halfway down the lane here. They know they can't go all the way back, but they also have to stay close enough to that Baron in case it should be moved on to again by the Super Hot crew. And they're going to move in here as a group and try and get some more wards down. 3 of them there, as Diamond is just going to check around, spots a ward off to the side, but Migxa and Mimer were already in position to stop him clearing that out.
Yeah, if there's anything Super Hot crew should be doing more of at this stage of the game, is finding ways to get deeper vision. They don't have the best wards sitting in Gambit's side of the jungle. They've only got 3 sweeping lenses, and I think only 1 of them is upgraded. So at this point in time, the vision game is still in favor of Gambit. The fact that Gambit needs to defend Baron is a positive for Super Hot crew. They can pull Gambit towards them, and if they had the correct ring of vision, they may be able to peel. Use that Grand Skyfall, come in from behind, create some disruption, intervention Pantheon, and pick a fight. But as it stands, Super Hot crew, they're erring on the side of caution. They're playing this one slower. They don't want to give up the lead that they've got.
2 open inhibitors that respawn. The third one will be coming up here shortly as well. That gives a brief respite for Gambit, especially Aleksei, who spent all his time in that top lane just forcing the waves to go further and further back. Super Hot crew are playing this one very safe though. You have to say, not taking any big chances around Baron, not really going for any kind of big push. They're looking for Gambit to move out and make a mistake. Yeah,
I still think Super Hot crew need more wards. If you look at this mini-map, there are 3 wards in total on the Gambit side of the map from the Super Hot crew. Without having that vision, when you've got so much map control, when Gambit are down to only 1 Nexus turret, it's very difficult to force their hand. It's difficult to make a play. And you see Super Hot Crew, they're not committing. They don't want to commit to Baron. They didn't even have SELFIE with them. And it's just this tentative feeling gameplay. If they had vision to work with, they could have made much better decisions. They could have peeled for fights, jumped over the wall, etc. As it stands, it's just going to be the waiting game. See who gets out of position first.
Super Hot Crew. Actually, no one going back there. It was Gambit who sent Edward back home, and the Super Hot Crew have decided, you know what, we're going to kick off Baron once again, and this time it looks like they may be committed to it. It's down to less than half HP.
Edward's not there.
Edward nowhere to be seen, but the rest of his team might have bought him enough time. Darien took a bit of a blast, but he is so tanky that it doesn't particularly matter to them. They've delayed it long enough. Edward is back.
Yeah, so Baron went down to 3,000 health, Super Hot Crew peeled. They didn't want to run the risk of a burst combo from that Zhao plus Orianna, either hitting them or stealing Baron. Now Baron is going to regenerate back to max health, and we're in a 5-on-3 situation. SELFIE's pushing the top lane, Mimer's caught in the mid lane, Gambit are going for the inhibitor, and I think they're going to get it.
They're going to push straight down here. The mass recall is coming in from the Super Hot Crew, where they look like they want to take down this inhibitor, and I can't see that they're going to be able to stop this one from happening. They've got minions coming in as well.
Skyfall.
There is a Grand Skyfall, but who are they going to pick? Diamond, Darien, neither of them really ideal. There's the jump back in, the crescendo, completely whiffed. Darien going low, Diamond has to flash, Shockwave will only pull Impaler, and there is a flash from SELFIE, but has he gone too deep? Ulti's used left and right on this one. Mimer gonna go low, Darien's still very low. There's his Guardian Angel gonna be popped. He might have to be a sacrificial lamb here. No, he comes up with about 3,000 HP still, but MrRalleZ finishes off. Genja flashes away. MrRalleZ running a rampage in there. He finally gets slowed down by Alex, but Gambit have to retreat.
The inhibitors have to be the target here for the Super Hot Crew. Impaler did such a good job of re-engaging. He flashes, jumps on with the W, throws down his Randian's Omen, and immediately runs away. That slow is what allowed Super Hot Crew to get the kill. Alex, one more hit! He doesn't go down. MrRalleZ is on the mid inhibitor, and I think Super Hot Crew may push to finish.
Gonna look to finish this one. The super tank of Gambit is no longer in the game for 40 more seconds. There's the Cullen. Gonna do good damage. Impaler's gone low. Genja steps forward. Can't quite finish it off though. The minions streaming back out of the base here. Gambit have still got 30 seconds to hold on. If this is gonna stay, it'll become a 5 versus 5. Mimer taking so much damage there from Diamond, and Gambit, they're somehow holding on to this.
They are defending their Nexus, but they are losing a second inhibitor. As it stands, MrRalleZ still has a lot of HP. The inhibitor did not go down. That's about 150 HP as Super Hot Crew are forced away. They set their sights on the Nexus turret. They didn't manage to pick it up because there's still a lot of damage from Gambit. And that culling from Genja just destroyed SELFIE's HP bar. That meant that Super Hot Crew had to peel away. They should be able to get this Baron because they've still got an immense amount of damage between their champions. It will be secured, and that's going to allow them to siege.
Absolutely crazy stuff. Super Hot Crew have just taken the lead with the gold here by that pickup of the Baron. 82.6 to 82.6, that's all even now as they start clearing out lanes. 10-9 in kills, but 10-5 in turrets. There's not a lot left of Gambit's base. 1 inhibitor down, 2 inhibitors open, only 1 Nexus turret is left standing.
There's not a lot that Gambit can do to deal with this damage that Super Hot Crew are putting out. As long as Super Hot Crew, once again, just group up, they're even getting through the HP and the tankiness of Darien and Diamond. And because of the shorter range of Lucian, he's actually at too much risk if he tries to get in there and tries to get the squishier targets. Lucian has to focus Ryze and Kayle. And because they can just melt through Gambit's tanks quicker than Gambit can melt through Super Hot Crews, it's forcing Gambit to be in the retreat in every single one of these fights. We see in terms of itemization, a 6-item MrRalleZ, which is a little bit more traditional. He sold his boots, picked up that Zephyr. There is still no armor penetration from Genja. This could be one last fight. They tried to look for it. SELFIE was top. He's going to continue split pushing. Gambit didn't get the fight they were looking for.
SELFIE up top. Gambit, what are they going to do? They actually speed each other up and they're going straight down the middle. Are they going to try and push through for this one? SELFIE is recalling. They're going to push these super minions back, whatever, and that is still a good play from Gambit.
Grand Skyfall is still available, so Gambit are maintaining control of the one lane where there are super minions. It means they're going to have more time. Because if you look at the top and the bottom, it's actually going to be pushing a little bit in favor of Gambit towards the Super Hot Crew. So the one wave that could push them into their base has been dealt with. Now, Gambit, they're going to jump on Super Hot Crew from the side. There are Banshee Veils, there's Guardian Angels. If they don't kill MrRalleZ quickly, I don't know if Gambit can do this. They're going in, and Joe, this could be so scary.
They are behind the Super Hot Crew. There is Impaler's Banshee's Veil pop. Gambit decides to try and back away. Darien going to get locked up, but he doesn't take too much damage. Diamond, however, on the other hand, did go to down to about half. Edward going to get caught out here against Mimer. Has he got the damage? No, Edward getting that command protect. He stays alive, but Gambit have to recall here. They could try and push through the Super Hot Crew.
Yeah, the rest of Super Hot Crew, I think they should go for an inhibitor. They've got a lot of damage, they can get it quickly, but there are multiple Home Guard boots on the side of Gambit. You can see them dashing across the map. They're going to try to defend the objective as best they can. Inhibitor hasn't regenerated its HP just yet in Super Hot Crew. They're going to get it. We'll see if another fight's going to break out.
Good culling coming out there. The Banshee's Veils completely removed from the Super Hot Crew. Will they go for a fight? Gambit are being pushed heavily. Edward taking another blast as the command protect comes in to keep him alive. That inhibitor on the bottom is the last one standing here. The easy target for the Super Hot Crew.
Flash Crescendo is still available, and I'm not sure if I'd use the word easy target, knowing that that's that CC. Super Hot Crew decide they want to go for the Nexus turret instead, forcing Gambit's head. Diamond's coming from behind.
Oh, they've gone on towards Impaler. He's surely going to go down. Intervention he's used on him. Have they got the damage to finish off after? There is a Crescendo. It didn't hit anyone. Diamond's still at the front. Migxa goes low, but it's once again MrRalleZ doing all the damage. Genja going to get flashed on. Ace in the hole will pop the Banshee's Veil. Sorry, the Guardian Angel. And Genja now going to be jumped on and finished off. That is surely the game. 2 men down here for Gambit. Darien comes tearing out the base once again. Alex and Diamond both there as well. And in fact, Diamond goes straight on towards Mimer. Have they got the damage to finish off? Yes, they have. A shutdown coming in. And now Migxa has to try and run away. But on the top side, the rest of the Super Hot Crew went for the Nexus and won the game. What an absolute beast of a match.
The Super Hot Crew tied the head-to-head with Gambit, going 2-2 on the split. Super Hot Crew beat Gambit a few weeks ago, destroying them in 24 minutes. And in this game, it took 56 minutes to close the game out. It was scary in that mid-game. Super Hot Crew were on the back foot. They needed to fend off a downed inhibitor and a barrened up Gambit team. But they held out, they held strong, and they've made their way back into that game. That was a great performance.
That does not look like a team that are struggling in the table whatsoever. We heard from Froggen that the Super Hot Crew right now in scrims are looking so incredibly good. And well, they brought that out here for a good time. It looked like Gambit had this game in the bag. As you said, Baron taken, they were already pushing things down, but the Super Hot Crew showing some real character to hold on in that game. Took them a while, there were some very hairy moments for them, but they held on for the win.
Yeah, at this particular moment, this was the 7th place team taking out a team that's been sitting in first for a while. And Gambit has been all the way up at the table, top of the table. It is going to give Super Hot Crew some renewed energy looking towards Super Week next week, considering that they're sitting in that possible relegation position.
Yeah.
If they finish in 7th, they will be going to the promotion tournament in 3 weeks' time. 4 weeks' time, 3 or 4 weeks' time. And that means the potential of being out of the LCS altogether. If they can close to Roccat and Copenhagen Wolves, who are at 11 and 12 records, they are now 10 and 14. It's a couple of games different. Give Roccat a few more losses, and all of a sudden they are in the playoffs. They're in the top 6 for the spring split.
And what a surprise. Everything's so very close. Let's not forget that Gambit still have a game to go today. They'll be playing that rematch against SK Gaming later on in the day, who also didn't have the great start to the day. They lost their first match as well. So both of those teams going to be looking to jump back up in the standings, and everything, as is per usual somehow here in Europe, so close across the board.
I did not expect the Super Hot Crew to come into that game and actually hold so even with Gambit.
No.
They had a composition that was going to take time to scale up. You know, we've seen Ryzes be punished in the past. We've seen Kayles. They're not very scary until they get the Nash's Tooth and some ability power. In the past, it was Nash's into Lichbane. Now it was Nash's into Deathcap. But they didn't make monumental mistakes. They didn't give up objectives. I do think that Super Hot Crew can still learn a lot from this game. They jumped on Diamond in the jungle, which was a bad play. That's what cost them the inhib and the Baron. Their vision in the very late game, I still feel, was a little bit poor. So there is some takeaways that they can still improve upon as they look forward to next week's Super Week.
But on the other hand, they've just taken down Gambit, a game which almost they look destined to lose after, as you said, that sloppy fight inside of Gambit's jungle, thinking that they could catch them out, where actually they just weren't strong enough at that point. There's a lot to take away from it, both positives, that's for sure, and negatives. And Gambit must be frustrated after that one, being in such a commanding position in that game and not being able to close it when they had the chance.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think there's two things that Gambit will need to ask themselves about this game, barring individual mistakes. I mean, Edward did not hit very many crescendos. He didn't feel impactful on that Sona.
Yeah.
On the same token, the Orianna from Alex, we have seen godlike performances. If you cast your mind back to Moscow in the summer split last year, he had Orianna games where he destroyed people, was getting away on next to no HP thanks to his command protects. Yesterday, had a great game. Today, he went 3, 2, and 5, and I think his shockwaves only hit Impaler. I mean, you know, Reddit detectives can check this one out, but I'm pretty sure all of his shockwaves hit only SELFIE in the laning phase and then Impaler in team fights. It's just not good enough when you need to hit multiple targets.
Crescendos as well, we have to point out, were a little bit off towards the end of that game, but either way, a very good win for the Super Hot Crew. Now, let's head over to Shox and Deficio, who are standing by with Super Hot Crew's Migxa.
Thank you very much, Joe. Deficio and I are indeed joined by Super Hot Crew's Migxa, the support player. You did it once in week 4, you did it again here, although it took a little more time this time around versus Gambit. Still an amazing performance from you guys. Tell me a little bit what the game plan was for picks and bans. We know that SELFIE has been playing that LeBlanc 2 times already. Why this time the Kayle?
Basically, we planned to play Yasuo, but I think it was banned. Or maybe, I don't even remember if it was banned. But
It was banned.
Yeah, it was banned, so we couldn't play Yasuo. Yeah, basically we played Kayle a bit randomly, like we just picked our champs, and yeah, I want to play that. This jump is good, pick this jump, and yeah, basically we played like this.
Well, if your champs like this basically saying, what do you want to play? Okay, you get this, you get this. How do you guys even prepare to the game? Like, do you just say we just go in randomly, ban some stuff, or how much do we actually prepare?
We actually prepared the ban, but not really much our picks. We focused on the champions we will ban, and not really on what we will play.
Tell me then a little bit about going into the game. You must have remembered last time it was pretty easy for us in week 4. And this time, also in the early game, you guys did pretty well. How was it for your perspective?
We were not really that confident, but we knew that we could win because anyway, everyone can win against everyone in EU LCS. So pretty much you got a chance every game. And yeah, that was our chance to maybe avoid relegation.
Why do you actually think everyone can beat each other here in Europe? What's the thing? Is everyone just equally good, or what do you actually think is the reason everyone can just beat each other?
Yeah, the team levels are not, it's like really close. Even if some teams are better than others, you can always win a game against anyone.
Let's concentrate on the game a little bit more, though. Some very interesting moments there. The first thing I wanted to ask you is when you guys were ahead and you went for that trap over in their red buff, do you remember that? Because that didn't turn out great for you guys. Do you remember that moment?
Yeah, I remember, yeah. We got pretty surprised. We didn't have enough vision, and they cooked us out. Like, we didn't see Genja, and he had so much damage. I think he killed 2 or 3 people, and we didn't even see him, so we couldn't kill him.
Luckily, you guys weren't out of the game yet, because then you had a fight around Baron that completely turned things around.
Yeah, and we have a replay of the fight, of course, so if you just bring it up to you guys' screen. It's at the Baron, 39 minutes in. Gambit actually already killed SELFIE, and now they're starting the Baron buff, and you guys are 4 members alive here. Tell me what's going through your mind, and also who's making the calls here, and why do you guys actually win the fight? So if you just roll it here, you can just talk with it.
So yeah, here we are 4v5. We are pretty panicked because they are starting Baron. We are scared that they will get it. I put vision for Impaler to maybe steal. And actually, we forced them to back into Baron. And at this point, yeah, they try to engage on us, but they hit only Impaler with Shockwave, and their jungler dies, so they can't really finish Baron. And then we just clean up, let them tank Baron, clean up, and we finish Baron.
And of course, this was the turning point of the game. You guys have been behind so far. I think you're even still about 3,000 gold behind after the Baron. But once you actually took it here, in your mind, was this the game? Was like, now was one, you just had to walk up and just finish the base, even though it actually took quite a while. So why did it take so long for you to finish?
We were pretty scared, actually. Even with 2 inhibs, we were really scared to lose a fight and then lose the game. So we were really patient, and yeah, we played it pretty safe.
Let's talk supports a little bit. This time around, you were going for Karma. You did have some AP items in there, Leandri's Torment, needlessly large Rod at the end as well. Why the choice for Karma here? We also saw you playing Sona yesterday. Now it was on the other side. What are kind of your tiers of supports right now?
It's kind of, my playstyle is more like poke supports, AP champs, more like I think with the new patch, everyone can play what he wants. Basically, tank supports are still viable, like Thresh, Leona, and Evgeny. And yeah, poke supports are actually good as well. Sona, Zyra, and stuff like this.
What do you think about Velko's support? We saw it yesterday. Is this something like for you, you could start playing or find a weird support yourself to pick up, or in general? Yeah,
I actually tried a bit Velko support, but I was not really convinced by the champion yet.
All right, well, thank you very much, Migxa, and congratulations. Great win for the Super Hot crew here over Gambit. It is time for us to take a brief break, and when we return, Fnatic and Millennium will face each other in the lanes.